you know, that, so I would say that that would go with the Alabama Quality Teaching Standards, the hand and finger signals, but I would say it was probably like in that emerging state, but that's better than nothing at all. They talk about space and the use of space. Modes of response, you know, how many times you go in a classroom and they're just hollering out answers and it's popcorn and there's no organization, there's no wait time, there's not giving everybody a chance to think, it's the same kid calling out the answer all the time. You know, just having some mode like that is a really good idea for teachers. So these are just some good practices. Positive reinforcement of behavior. Positive reinforcement of incorrect answers. You know, we got to make it safe for kids to give incorrect answers. You know, it can't be, no, Amy, that's not right. Jenny, what is the right answer? I mean, you know, but have you seen people do that?
Good luck with that.
They do that.
I got an iPad, I'll Google it.
Circulation, you know, that movement of the room. You know, I've seen teachers put kids in groups, and I wouldn't necessarily say that they were collaborative groups. Maybe they were cooperative, or just instead of sitting in a row, everybody's sitting in a square. But they're not doing anything together. And what does the teacher do? Like goes and checks email. Like if you're going to have kids doing group work, you got to be up moving in the room. You know, they got to understand that. It's not just let's sit them in a group and I'll go check my email. It's instructional time, so you need to be instructing. Wait time, that's so important. How often you've been in the teacher's classroom and they ask a question and they answer it, and they ask a question and they answer it, and the kids are going, because they don't even know what's going on, because the guy's up there or the woman's up there and they're asking the question and answering it. You know, let kids think. Make them uncomfortable. Jackie Walsh, that we're going to hopefully get to spend some time with later, she's the queen of wait time. She'll just wait. You'll be uncomfortable. I'll be thinking, I wish I knew something to say. You know? What can I say? And I have to practice listening because I'm always the one running my mouth. So I'm trying to be quiet, but it's like, somebody say something. Because she'll wait. You got to practice wait time. Kids got to have time to think. So don't ask a question and then turn around and answer it. No echo. You know, you don't have to repeat everything the kid said. Ask another kid to repeat it. You know, what did Johnny just say? You know, Lynn, put that in some different words. How else could we say that? Specific questions. You know, quite often, as with multiple choice tests, and now sometimes I've had professors where they give you two answers. I hate those. But if you're going to ask a specific question, you're looking for a specific answer, that's a lot different than asking an essential question that's going to cause someone to think and have to respond, right? Sometimes a yes-no question is appropriate, but if we really want our kids thinking, we got to think about the level of questions we're asking. So specific questions, and know what you're looking for. If you're asking for a specific question for a specific answer, know that. But if you're asking something open-ended, you know, give them time to think and respond. Mistakes versus mistakes. You know, as an educator, we can make mistakes and let the kids correct it. This makes us human. And then finally on the last page, the involvement of visitors, and I guess this is where I wanted to talk about. We really want the classrooms to be, you know, you go in some teachers' classrooms and they may be the best teacher in the school, but their neck turns red when you walk in and they're all freaked out and getting served. You know, they just get freaked out, but they're wonderful teachers, right? You don't want to be a disruption in the classroom. But if you, as an administrator, are walking in and out of the classroom, even if it's just a walk-in, the kids will get used to it and it will not become a disruption. You know, go in this paragraph in the middle, they suggest that the teacher invite whoever the visitor is. They're not really talking about administrators here. I'm just kind of turning it to that. But when you go in a classroom, don't sit in the back of the room in a chair with your leg crossed watching the teacher. Go sit down with the kids. What is on that kid's desk? What are they doing? What does the conversation look like? Go watch the kids. It's not about the teacher, it's about what the teacher's having the kids do. Go watch the kids. Sit down with the kids. The kids will tell you way more and you'll learn way more than you inferring what you think the teacher's doing. Go sit down with the kids and you'll really see what the kids are doing. Okay, now this last handout before we do this last activity, I promise I'm gonna get y'all out of here by 12. Hopefully a little early since we stayed a little late yesterday. Kids speak out on engagement. Well, this is one teacher, it happens to be an 8th grade teacher, but she said that she wanted to know what engaged students, so she asked her kids. Tell your teachers to ask their kids. Those kids will tell you, they'll be honest with you. So she took over 220, or maybe it was exactly 220, responses from students, and she categorized them. They fell in 10 categories. Category 1, working with their peers. That engages kids. Kids will tell you that they learn more when they work with their peers. They want interaction. Talking gets them involved in their own learning. I've circled some key words in each one of these. Y'all can read these later. But this is some good reading. Working with technology is the second category, and that's a huge focus in our district. They said they learn by doing. That's the name of DeForest book. That 8th grader don't know anything about that book. Learning by doing. And also, when you look at the learning pyramid, this is a traditionally passive classroom where there's lecture, retention rate, 5%. Reading, is 10%. Audio, visual, 20%. Good PowerPoint, but you know, bunch stuff. Demonstration, all that's still passive. What's the kid doing? They're watching. Active, discussion group, practicing by doing, teaching others, like Nardell mentioned that yesterday, teaching others, and I said it's the highest level of pyramid. Look how your percentages go up. You're up to 50% just by putting them in a group and having them talk to one another about a topic. But you cannot go sit at your desk and check email. They're not going to stay on topic if the expectation is not set by the educator, right? So working with their peers, that's very important. And the technology piece of the learning by doing, he says, technology helps me to learn. It engages me more. It helps me understand the concept more clearly. Because they are a technological group of kids. Connecting the real world to the work we do in project-based learning. This one on the very first, she says it's not about relationships. Not relationships of the teacher to the student or the student to students, but rather relations between the text and the outside world. Imagine that. What's really happening out there. On the next page, just a little bit down, it says curriculum applies to more than just a textbook. If we're given projects that expand into other subjects and make us think, how does science relate to math? How can we bring in close reading and social studies? Then look down here at number 4. Clearly love what you do. I'm going to read this whole first one because it just kind of... Engaging students can be a challenge. Now this is a kid writing, and if you're stuck in a monotone, rambling on and on, that doesn't help. Instead of talking like a robot, teachers should speak to us like they're really passionate about teaching. Make sure to give yourself an attitude check. If a teacher acts like this is the last thing they want to be doing, then the kids are going to respond with the same negative energy. If you act like you want to be there, then we will too. That also goes back to how teacher attendance probably relates to student attendance. So as principals, you may want to just think about that. Think about that. If your teachers don't come to school, are your kids going to want to come to school? We were looking at attendance yesterday. That might be something you want to, be thinking about. Do you need to have some conversations about teacher attendance? Would it affect student attendance? I don't know. I don't know the answers to that, but it's something for you to think about. But they need to love what they do when they're there. And number 5 is my absolute favorite one. Get me out of my my seat. When a student is active, they learn in a deeper way than sitting. For example, in my history class, we had a debate over SOPA and PIPA, whether or not they were good ideas. My teacher had us stand on either end of the room to state whether we agreed or disagreed with the proposition. By doing this, I was able to listen to what all my other classmates had to say, so they had a discussion, right? And that kid liked that. They moved and they talked. 6, bring in visuals. 7, give the students a choice. 8, understand your clients, the kids. Here's another partnership principle in the first sentence, voice. Give those kids a voice. Ask them what they think. Number 9, mix it up. Don't do the same old thing all the time. And be human. So those are the 10 categories that this one teacher asked. It might be interesting, since we're focusing on engagement, think about this too. It might be interesting to ask your students or have a suggestion box. What engages you? I mean, it never hurts to ask. Kids will be, like Myra said yesterday, kids will be really honest with you if you just ask them and give them a chance to talk to you. So those are just a couple of things for you to put in your folder and hang on to. And we're going to go through this last activity. It should take probably about 40 minutes. Active engagement and reciprocal teaching. How many of you ever used reciprocal teaching? It's kind of it's a way for you to ensure that everyone in the group has a role and they don't have the same role. You know how, like, I would want to be, you know, like you know how you'll give a group and you'll say, okay, you need this, you need this, you need that. And you always choose the role that you want to be. But what if you made them change and they had to be every role? Wouldn't that be interesting? Then a kid couldn't just always be that same role. They got experience being different roles. So we're gonna look at reciprocal teaching. So the learning target is I can determine key factors in creating a classroom as an engaging place of learning. How does this relate to the AQTS? Well, it goes to 2.3. Great. Do y'all choose a school-wide indicator? You do? Those are things for you to think about. I always try to tie the PD to the AQTS too, thinking about what does it support, because that also gives teachers opportunities to, you know, be sure you reflect on what we learned today, and you can go into your Educate Alabama and just write something about your learning. You can send out an email, as the principal, and say, you know, after our learning, about learning targets, thinking about this relating to however it relates to your whichever standard that you choose, or whichever indicator that you choose.
Jackie,
You know,
last year, Ann sent us one as a district center. So we all did it as a district, and we chose one, we did it at the high school as a school. So that's when we did Educate Alabama, there was the district one, and then we had a school one. That's the way we kind of set it up.
that's good. And so then whenever you would do professional development, you could have them maybe go in and reflect over their learning. Because, you know, like that Educate Alabama, it's like, as I watched and worked with teachers on this and did observations, you know, it would be like they would just like put things in a list, like I did this. It was really, but it's really supposed to be a blog between you and your administrator, you know. It's supposed to be like you're going in and you're commenting on that, and it's supposed to be about their learning and then how they're using that in the classroom, you know. So if you have them, when you do PD, if you have them reflect about ways in which they could use it, or if you're going to go use it this week, write about how you used it. You know, how did this affect your learning, and then how did it transfer to the classroom?
Well, and that makes sense to me, because that just makes Educate Alabama more effective and more.
Because it's about their growth. Right, it really is about their growth. So if people aren't reflecting over their learning, and they're not thinking about how they're going to use it or how they already used it, then are they growing? Right? So I just think when you think about PD, if you can tie it to Educate Alabama, it's a great way to do that. The 2.3 creates a safe, orderly, stimulating learning environment that nurtures motivation and engagement of learners, because this is about active engagement. And then 2.6, it supports it too, designs coherent lessons that integrate a variety of appropriate and and effective instructional strategies, because reciprocal teaching is the best practice. So this PD fits both those standards. And I tend to look at teaching and learning all the time. I know technology is important and all that, and I've seen teachers even choose like an additional one that they're working on personally. Maybe it's something about technology. Some of them are very tech savvy, but maybe some of them, and maybe that's something that you suggest too. I don't know why I'm going off about Educate Alabama. Let's get back on track. I want y'all to watch this little video. And I want you to think about, well, first of all, let's activate your prior knowledge. When you are at the airport may be a bad example. When you're somewhere and you have a choice between the stairs and the escalator, how many people take the escalator? I mean, I think that's pretty normal, don't you? But thinking about if the stairs were more engaging, might you do something different? So let's see what human nature causes people to do. When you make something more engaging rather than less engaging. We're probably going to watch an advertisement. Does it say skip?
Yes.
Where? Oh, here we go. Oh, I went there. Spring break. I read this little ticket. Okay, here we go. Just a minute, 3 seconds. Oh, that's how it goes. So all of a sudden everybody wanted to take the stairs. Why? They made them more engaging. So don't you think that if we make our classrooms more engaging, they won't just be sitting there unengaged? So there's a true need.
We've got to get ready for them to do other than just walk up the stairs, because what do they do when it's more engaging? They jump, they hop, they get together. Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to look different.
It's going to look different, and that's okay, right?
Yes.
So that's just, before we get started, I just always think that's a good little, when you're thinking about engagement. Okay, so kind of back to Schlitzky. This is a book, Engaging Students, the Next Level Working on the Word. And he says the teacher's job is not to teach kids. The teacher's job is to create meaningful, engaging work whereby students learn the things that we want them to learn. Now, a teacher's job is not to teach kids. Well, yeah, it is, right? I mean, it is. But at the same time, it's not to stand up there and be the sage on the stage and teach, and say, I taught it. See y'all, it's 3 o'clock and we're home. You know, that's not their job. What their job is.
That's performing, that's not teaching.
That's right. That's a performance. That's a getting a paycheck, right? But a teacher's job is to really think about creating meaningful, engaging work whereby the student learns the things we want them to learn, which means they meet what? The learning target. Right? So we're not just up there going, I taught it, see you later. It's gotta be engaging. And have you ever been, and I know you have, you've been in a classroom where the kids are just like, I've been in there before, you know.
And you're yawning, you're, and you're up,
And it's just like, oh, what is that woman talking about? You know, get them moving, get them talking, get their blood flowing. We all, and I'll share some stuff later with y'all about brain research. You gotta chunk everything you do. And I know that sometimes this does happen. But it can be chunked, and there can be activities that fall within that that'll change what that looks like. Okay, so for today, this is just kind of an agenda. Learning target that we've already discussed, and we're gonna do a before, during, and after strategy. So this is a good example of a good strategic lesson. Except we're gonna do it as a PD form. The before thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna do an interview response. The during is we're gonna do reciprocal teaching, and after we're gonna collect the keepers. So those are the activities that we're gonna do. So the before thing is there's an interview question. There is an index card in your basket on your table. You'll get one of those. And your challenge is, the interview question is, what are the characteristics of an engaging learning environment? So we're activating our prior knowledge, right? Interview 3 people and ask the question, and I don't want you to interview the 3 people at your table. Okay, so those 3 people are off limits, Rod. I saw you go,
Yeah, I did.
so you gotta get up and move around, and you gotta ask 3 people this question, record their response, and you can tell them yours if you want. It can be a reciprocal thing. And then when you sit down with your individual card, I want you to summarize the findings on the back of the note card. So just get up, move around, ask 3 people that question, record their response, and then come back and summarize the things that they said, and then we'll do some sharing.
Okay, Chris, I'll pull
Oh, whoa. You didn't say my deal. Like, come straight in.
Characteristics of engaging learning.
Organized.
It is, I don't think I use this exact one. It sounds better. All right, what do you want to do?
Working towards the end goal.
I did. I think it's active.
So, yeah, how you doing? You want to go first? Want me to share my board? Correct. Okay, you go ahead. You got one for me.
I could tell you. Oh, good. Hey, man. What do you got?
Lively, thoughtful.
Are you participating?
Hey.
Okay.
Fault for both.
Okay, students.
To assist and teach the student. And eventually, that's just.
Oh, my God.
Is everybody on the third one? Second? Okay.
Do you mind a bit? I
Are
think
you writing it down?
I should see
Okay.
so that visible engagement in the work by making meaning verbally or in other forms of communication. think it's controlled chaos.
Students feel safe.
Yes. No, no.
I knew it was
Visible engagement at work.
Light. There's light in the room.
Whether it's verbal or whether it's not enough that's involved in the process.
Thank you for
All right, thank you.
I got right, I'm off with it. Okay, when you get finished, go back to your sheet and summarize your findings.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I wonder why Rod's tech is always the broken.
Oh, I'm not touching it. What do you got to do?
Yeah, I think I've inherited all this stuff. Because I'm the queen of broken circles. No, like I'm pathetic. I got some tail. No, I'm good.
When you get your three things, go back to your sheet and summarize on the back of your note card what those three people said.
And then I just clear it. But I think
Within a week. Yeah. I'm not judging. It was the weirdest thing. I gave her a hard time. Yes.
I know since, you know,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm saying,
Okay, thank you, that's great.
Okay, you summarize quickly.
Yeah, kind of summarize your three findings on the back.
Oh, it's true.
But we were doing the same thing. I mean,
I'm gonna give everybody a chance to summarize your three interview responses.
Okay.
After you get your three things summarized, now remember you didn't interview the three people that were sitting at your table. So each one of you share your summarization, see how they compare, and then combine those four into kind of one statement that encompasses what's being said there. Choose a table facilitator. Rod's table's table 1, Amy's table 2, Billy's table 3, and Cindy. Right, and Cindy's gonna be table 4. And so discuss your 4 summarizations, and then kind of come up with one statement, and that person will come up here and write kind of what you found from the group. Does that make sense? Anybody need directions clarified? And it may not be a sentence. If you want to do a bulleted list of things in your blog, you can do a bulleted list. Just kind of You know, I was thinking about you kind of summarizing it, so I guess I was thinking more sentence than bulleted list, but you can summarize it in a bulleted list. I'm not that concerned. And we don't have to pass it.
Active ownership, air of life, I've had actively involved multiple interactions in student center, feel kids feel free, feel safe, succeed or fail, they feel safe.
We got to come up with one comment.
This Jackson that I came up.
If y'all want to do a bulleted list instead of statements, you know, if you're doing it with your kids, you want them to summarize. And summarize really means they're gonna, it's not a bulleted list, right? But, I mean, we're all adults and we don't have to pass this fire, so, yeah. Bulleted list, if you're examples.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's a big part of it. So what do we really put this aside? I think all of that's something about ownership.
I kind of like that statement right there.
That's the mistake.
Okay, when your table's ready, then come up, and of course y'all can all come up at the same time, but come and fill in your rectangle with your list or your sentences or whatever you'd like to say.
Active student ownership. Yes, sir.
And I have a marker up here.
You're good about that. Air, light,
Right now, dude.
Boy, you have a ride. You get a date.
See, you knew it was gonna happen because you walked out, you just laid down.
Monday. That was the front of it.
So that was me. You didn't say a word. No, you didn't.
Kind of smug, ain't it? I think,
Wait, now we're gonna get back to where we're not gonna use my station. I think I see the people around the corner.
Yeah, we're ready. 3.
Let's take about maybe another minute to get that all put together. We good?
Yeah, we can restart.
Okay.
You want to do it?
I'm sorry, I'm in a rush, y'all.
I might put and drop the mic. That would be hilarious.
It's right up there on the chalk track. Are you talking about
Stop me on the stop sign and when I saw someone, what do you want?
Blue.
oh, you gotta have a blue one.
I get it. Shuffle.
Yeah, that's it. If you're not leaving it, there's my fire. That's fine.
It's always been a pleasure. I think those things you see.
You might bring your green stuff back.
Yeah. Let me see what I had today. I had
Spaghetti. So what'd you say?
No, I tried to forget. I don't know what I had.
You spaghetti been out here. point, I tried. Don't do that. Try the green stuff.
Did not try this.
Try the green stuff.
It's gonna work.
Look awful bad. Mud back in the spaghetti juice. They look like something swallowed.
You would, exactly, that's exactly what I tried to tell Sharon. I said, I'm gonna talk to you much better now because I know the outcome.
Y'all gonna take her in an office and shit, we're gonna make it, we're gonna work on those halls.
I know, what are y'all gonna do with this on the
Well, basically, we got
They're telling like that.
Just looked at me, you were standing there.
I think that, and I said, carefully and purposely plan the lessons. Purposely plan the teacher to give the kids that day.
And it's not just the work that just pops up.
So they're not anymore.
So I just had, yeah, they just took it back here because it makes
I thought that is the carefully and purposely planned lesson.
Okay, 1 and 2, y'all get underload.
I'm gonna kill somebody on me.
All that ballet training ain't working, is it? After your mama spent all that money taking you to a private ballet.
And now, if you've already wrote your summaries up on the board, be thinking about who's gonna share out for your table. It may
You're
not be
crazy.
the same person that wrote, or it may be the same person that wrote. Who's gonna share it out? So be thinking about that.
You want philosophical?
Yeah, and we'll get number 1 on there.
Here's the real key to that. If you haven't said it twice,
Y'all think about who's
Ain't
gonna
gonna
share from y'all's table if it's the same person.
that fucking
that
music
writes.
great. I'm like, say that? Yeah, I did.
I got my contact over.
I don't know if I believe it. I said it.
You just go around the line.
Yeah, I seen you all that stuff from yesterday. I seen all that stuff from yesterday's presentation. I need to get
Contact this one. I can take it out, throw it away and start over.
I had to do that. I had to have.
What do you the whole
I just got these. I couldn't read small print. I mean,
Y'all weren't intimidated.
because that had those progressive ones, you know, so the readers. It takes a little while to get used to it after first. So it's like, where's the ground at? You know, because everything went all weird. I was like, I know, I thought, somebody put this in my brain. What happened? I didn't say it, you know? I was talking about started like stepping on it, like, is that the ground? Did somebody put something in my drink? What happened? That is gonna be on the recording.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cool, few statements today. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting our last one up there. Be thinking about who's gonna share out from your table. So recall what the question was, is what are the characteristics of an engaging learning environment? So we're kind of activating our prior knowledge of what our beliefs are about being engaged, you know, being in an engaging classroom environment. Okay, who's going to share out for number one? Okay, so Katie's going to share out.
We said that the carefully and purposely planned lesson produces the environment that encourages student autonomy and fosters student-centered learning designed to promote ownership in the learning process. One of the main things that we stressed in our group was that an engaging learning environment can't come from a lesson that's not deliberately designed to be an engaging lesson.
Yes. So it's going to matter what that teacher plans ahead of time. It goes back to that Schlesy comment. It's not just their job to teach. They've got to create engaging work for kids to be engaged. That's fantastic. Okay, table two. Who's sharing out?
Okay. At table two, what we did was first thing we thought about was what is it that we try to look for when we go into a classroom that we think is engaging, and what is it that the first thing we think we're going to look for, I guess, is what the students are doing. So that's why we started with the students. And when we looked at our cards, everybody had students being actively involved or purposeful and those kinds of things. Then we also talked about what is it that the teacher's generally doing, and she was acting as a facilitator from our discussion. So what we said was that an engaging learning environment is where students are actively involved in purposeful, relevant learning targets facilitated by the teacher that creates a safe, enjoyable learning environment.
Very good.
No comments.
Anybody got any questions for any of the first two groups? That's good. Okay, number three.
Mr. Lett.
You said to kind of come up with a synopsis on our own individually, and I had to go take a phone call, so I came up with a synopsis on my own so they could carry on the conversation. When I came back in, we had
Now stop. When Mr. Warren picks your statement out as a representative of something that he's put his name on, you can downplay all you want. It stands on its own.
Okay.
we came up with active student ownership with an air of life or a buzz for what they're learning.
Absolutely. What's the small print say?
That's a little ad lib
Very
on
dropped.
Dr. Shaw's part.
Mr. Lett thoroughly dropped the mic.
Then dropped them.
Dr. Lett then dropped the mic.
Kind of like I'm done. Just,
That's good. So there is a life in the classroom.
Mhm.
You know, it's not that straight rows, teachers stage on the stage. It really is about that facilitation of the learning and getting the kids talking. And just like we've been in here today, you know, it's been active. Okay, table four.
I'm gonna have to get closer to the wrong line. But we felt like the characteristics of a great learning environment would be where the students are actively involved and they understand the relevance of the work. The teacher is the facilitator. She's organized. And has purposely set the stage. The students are passionate teachers passionate about teaching, and they understand the relevance of the work or the task that they've been given.
Much like the principal sets the tone for the school and the expectations and what's going to go on. The teacher sets that tone and an expectation for the students. And what we believe they will do, they will do. Whether you're the principal, or you're talking about teachers, or whether you're talking about being the teacher, or you're talking about your kids. If we set expectations, people will rise to them because it's what's right for kids. Not because it's a checklist, not because it's one more thing I want you to do and we're going to do this for 2 years and then we're going to do something else. It's not about that. It's about, are we doing what's right for kids? If we ask ourselves, and if that stays at the heart of everything we do, we can get people to do things for the right reasons without beating them over the head and making them feel like it's one more thing to do. It's in the approach. And it's about the culture, the collaborative culture that's created in your school. If there's not one, if there's discontent, we got to figure out, we got to ask ourselves questions. I got all kinds of team building stuff. We got to figure out how to get those people to work together in meaningful ways and want to do it. And I believe we can get them to want to do it. I don't care who your worst resistor is. If you just keep going on and don't spend time on that person, you know, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but let me know when you come up with a solution. We'll discuss how we can implement it. I don't listen to problems. If you want to come and fuss all the time, I don't have time for that. If you got a problem, then bring me a solution, and then we'll discuss it. I'm gonna spend my time on those people that are my irreplaceable. And then the more you do that, the more that middle group of people start thinking, well, I want some of that attention, and I want to be involved in that. And people will get on board, and it's not going to happen overnight. It may take 5 years. But I had one teacher, when I first became an instructional partner and then went to assistant principal, it was 5 years before she said, oh, I finally know what we're doing. And I'm like, thank God. You know, it took a long time, but thank God you know what's going on now. So sometimes it's about our persistence. You know, if we really believe at the heart and soul that we're doing what's right for kids, and we move our faculties to do those things that are right for students, they'll go in that direction. And the ones that are going in a different direction, invite them to do something else besides work at your school. You know, give them some time, but eventually you're either with us or you're not, right? That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. Okay. We are going to do a modified reciprocal teaching task, okay? And in the middle of your table, there is a graphic organizer. This is a set of graphic organizers. They're stapled. They look like this. Okay? So just tear those apart and get everyone to get a piece of paper. And it doesn't matter if you're the questioner or the word builder or whatever, because that's just round 1. Round 2, we're going to move those papers. You're going to get to be everything today. So separate those 4 pieces of paper and give everybody one. And like I said, don't worry about which role it is, because you're going to play every role today. Now, I want to explain to you, and this is written on the top. If you look, it'll say questioner, and it tells you what the questioner does. So that's right there in front of you. And this is a graphic organizer. Remember, that's one of your top 6 strategies for engagement, but it's also one of the top 5 strategies for learning. Okay? So the questioner, your job as we engage with the text will be to make connections to the text by asking questions. The word builder is going to select vocabulary that is important to the understanding of the text and try to define it. I'm not talking about Googling it, just, you know, and this is not a complex text, but if it were a complex text, of course they would have their iPads out and they would actually look for definition. You know, it would look different in the classroom than it does with adults, but this is a great, great engaging activity to engage with the text. Keeper chooses the details and facts that stand out. The summarizer describes the text in a comprehensive and concise statement, right? So just know that the roles on the top of your paper and the definition of what that is there. This is what your graphic organizer looks like. And I just copied and pasted this, you know, into a Word document and made those and put the job up there. So here's what we're gonna do. These are the directions for how we're doing the modified reciprocal teaching. And it's modified because I kind of changed what the names of the thing. Like if you were to look up Google reciprocal teaching, it has 4 specific roles. But if you notice, I tweaked it. There's no strategy that can't be tweaked. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You do it to fit what you're doing, right? Because those are just frameworks for which you to work in. I think teachers get caught up in that, well, that's not what I call it. Well, no matter what you call it. As long as it works and you know what you're talking about and kids know what you're talking about. Now, when you start talking about common vocabulary, it's good if we can at least agree in a system or a school, starting with a school maybe. At the school level that you try to call some of them some things, but then whenever it moves to a system, it's amazing how after you do reciprocal teaching, and maybe I'm in 5th grade, and then whenever I get in 6th grade and the teacher busts it up, it's like, oh, we're going to do reciprocal teaching. They'll start doing that because they pick up on what these strategies are. So you don't, over time, you don't have to continue to explain them all the time. But anyway, the modified reciprocal teaching, we're going to assign the initial task, which is you're the questioner, the keeper, the summarizer, blah, blah, blah. We're going to read a chunk of text and complete the task, whichever task we have in front of us. Then we're going to share the information from each role. If I am the keeper, which Becky is, then I would say, okay, this is what I decided to keep, summarizer, this is what I summarized, questioner, these are the questions I came up, word builder. You know, we all share. Then you're going to pass the graphic organizer to the right, and then you repeat the process until all the chunks are completed. So that way, if you were working with students, they don't get to just be one role, you know. They got to be all of those things. And they need to be all of those things to really be able to pick out the most important things, to be able to formulate questions. You know, you want them to be able to do all those tasks, so it's a good experience. So what we're going to do is there's an article on your table that's turned upside down. If everybody will get a copy of that article, they're by Mr. Donaldson. And those folders are for you to keep all that stuff in. Dr. Donaldson.
That's him.
And y'all keep saying that.
Right.
We teach it,
Okay.
It's Father Donald.
Father Donaldson.
Father
Okay.
Not to be confused with Father Edward.
Yes, I'm a father, but they're trying.
Okay,
Color on backwards.
so what we're going to do is we're going to do chunk 1. I'm going to do chunk 1 with you. So really, if you're sitting there, you don't have to write what's up on the screen. So y'all just pretend like, you know, we're doing it together and you can write it, but you can just put kind of a check mark over chunk 1. We're going to do chunk 1 as a group. Okay, just to make sure that we get what was going on. So, a tale of 2 classrooms transforming the place of learning. So we would be sitting at the table and we would each read chunk 1. I'm going to read it aloud since we're doing this whole group. And this is an example of the gradual release of responsibility. You know, I'm going to do, then we're going to do, and then y'all are going to do, and then you're going to do. You know? Okay, so the gradual release of responsibility. So a tale of 2 classrooms. Transforming. Has anybody ever read this before we start? Okay. The contradiction exemplified so eloquently in the first paragraph of The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens poignantly creates a metaphor for the possibilities of creating a classroom as a positive learning environment. For one classroom, it can provide the best of times, the age of wisdom, the epoch of belief, the season of light, and the spring of hope. In comparison, another classroom can experience the worst of times, the epoch of infidelity, the season of darkness, and a winter of despair. And y'all know we've been in both those classrooms. How does a brick building transform into a place of learning? How can individual rooms within this place become one in which learning turns into a tangible and desired need, not only for students but teachers as well? The answer lies within the assumptions that students have about learning and the use of active engagement as a means to address these assumptions. So, now we would all do our jobs, and here's an example of what those might look like. And you know, you may do something totally different. This is just an example. But it tells you classroom transform the place of learning. That was the chunk we just read. So the word builder might say contradiction. That's a disagreement in meaning. Transform, to change. Assumptions, making an opinion based on information. The keeper might say, students have assumptions about learning. Assumptions affect engagement in learning. That might be your two keeper things. Or you may only have one. It's, however that looks. To summarize it, classrooms are places of learning that can be positive or negative experiences for students. The questioner might come up with, how can I, as a teacher, transform my class into a positive, engaging place of learning? So questions about what the ideas are and the roles are.
Should we go ahead and write those in our first block?
You don't have to. I'm almost in the PowerPoint. You can just put an X over your first block and pass your papers to the right. So whoever was supposed to be that role, you're going to give that up and we're going to pass them to the right. And so you become the next role with the next chunk. So remembering that we're going to assign the initial task, and now you have a new task, you're going to read the next chunk of text, complete the task, then you're going to have a conversation at your table about it, sharing what each of you did in your role. Then you will pass the papers to the right, and you will move to the next chunk of text. Yes, can we lay the example? Absolutely. So if everybody understands this, I'm going to be quiet and you should read the next chunk. It's number 2, obviously. And then complete your task. Everybody finish reading?
Bailey, who is a source of success that and knowledge build ownership of the learning process and the connection to real world applications.
Response, of course, goes along with what they're saying, the student goes along with the scholarship, they feel that's just.
So we discussed it.
You guys, I didn't realize it was like 10 till 12, so we're gonna have to like probably speed this up just a little bit. So y'all have a quick discussion about that, and then we probably won't do the whole group sharing. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Learning process, and Gary, I know this, and Gary was struggling with the learning process. Also, for the engagement, Gary it's just actually rather work class. It didn't help him.
I'll say that.
None of the
I
kids
said that Gary does not
choose to tell facts. So, the teacher is I'm instructor.
But they passed, they finished, happy to be finished, they finished. Happy to get out.
Gary has become passive.
You guys, y'all may want to move on to the next chunk. I hate to cut y'all short. I do, but I don't want to keep y'all a long time either. I know we did that to y'all yesterday.
You're right. Move on to the
But
next.
it's important we see that we get the article read. Let's read this next chunk.
That sums up my entire, at least secondary perspective.
Yeah. Jerry, she's being this teacher. Yeah. Go with that.
We go, okay, I love it. All right. We don't touch it.
And you guys, y'all get the strategy, right?
We are
So
engaged.
maybe just read the chunk, have a little discussion, we'll read the next chunk so we can speed it up. I'm sorry. But I just wanted y'all to know that, I just wanted to share it with you.
You're being this biology teacher number 2. You're telling us we.
Sorry. Sorry.
Move on.
This is about respected time, I'm sorry. And you guys, we need to be quiet where everybody reads. I know I can't read and I can see that on some people's faces.
You got that. Oh, yeah. That's what we keep it on. I'm just good for it. I hear you. We can just look at this. You just sense of what it meant to him.
to read this.
We all love you.
I'm just saying, I love y'all too. That's why I want y'all to be on task.
We're big compliance students. They're very engaged.
With a rim shot.
She understood favorite. In the different stages, she kept
When you finish reading chunk 3, move on to 4, and then we'll wind this up. I'm sorry that we are having to rush.
Sarah understands the expectations of the classroom and makes the realizes the student's responsibility and spends a lot of time. She understands
Has everybody moved on to chunk 4? Just read that. You don't even have to fill out the graphic organizer because we just print right on time.
You know? Sure.
Now you guys, I want y'all to think about, this would be something, don't you think this would be something really wonderful to do with your teachers? I know whenever I've done it with a group of teachers, I've had some of them go, oh my goodness, I'm Gary. You know, they self-evaluate. You know, they put themselves, there's 2 categories there. And most all of them are going to think, which one am I?
That was most of my secondary experience.
Yes.
Right there, in high school. That
And
was
in secondary,
horrible.
that's going to be it. That's what we see traditionally. That's got to change. But we can try to change it from the top. We got to make them understand why they want to change. You know, so I challenge you, this would be a fantastic thing to start August with. You know, I challenge you to think about when can I fit this in? When can I have my teachers, you know, maybe engage in something like this? And really, if we'd stayed on task, it really would have taken but about 45 minutes. But we took a long time with this one, you know, when we put this together. But I wanted to see what y'all thought. Look at the stuff y'all came up with. You know, so anyway, I just think that's something teachers will have aha moments. They really will.
Can you do us a favor? Can you send that to us?
Yes, I'll send you all this and that article. The after thing would have been that I would have had y'all keep the keepers, and then on a piece of chart paper, y'all would have put what they were and explained what the keepers were from the text. So that would have been the after strategy. And then the reason for those things is, for the before strategy, it activated prior knowledge and summarizing. The during, engage with the text, identify vocabulary, summarize, generate questions, identify main ideas, and then after it would be to analyze and evaluate the key information. So that's a good strategic lesson. And then wise words from a wise man. So is it about, do you want to teach or do you want to cause learning? And that's what teachers have got to decide. Do I want to teach the textbook or whatever? Or do I want my kids to learn? That's the kind of thing they need to do. So, if you will do me this one favor, you can do this later, you can do it tomorrow. Write this down. Just write that down in sticky notes on your table. And then go to today's meet. How many of y'all all use today's meet? It's very easy. If you just put in this link, it looks like this. So, So I would go right here and I would put, my name is Jackie. Well, if I can spell. And then I would hit join. And then my message would be, please respond. And I hit enter and it's right there. And then your comments will just fall right in. It's a great, and today's meet is it's a really, really easy, you just go there, you don't have to have an account, it'll say set up a room, you click set up a room, you name the room, you can't have spaces, you can use a dash, and you can use number 0 to 9. But it's very easy, and it just creates you a room.
Hey, Jeff, go back to that website.
Sorry, I forgot how y'all doing that. But today's meet is very easily used and it's a great response system. If you want to know what kids are thinking, they got their iPads, you just pop that in, or if you're using like Remind 101, I don't know if any of y'all use Remind 101 and you send your kids messages, they can, you know, you can send them a link or whatever. Or you can just say, type this in, go to this and respond, and it'll come up live. And if you want it to be anonymous, then they can just put in the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's a great little formative assessment. So what you're going to enter there is your takeaway or your aha from today. Does that make sense? We're done. I'm so sorry we ran over. How bad over are we?
Not bad.
That's good, we're 4 minutes. Oh, it's better than yesterday.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.